Hi everybody, welcome back to Cabin Fever Flows. Tonight we are going to do a sequence called Yoga When You're Just Not Feeling It. So I don't know about you guys, but one of the reasons I started doing yoga frequently was when I was pretty much in a pretty bad depression, and I still definitely have days where I kind of go into that mentality and feeling in my body. So I made this flow for those days when everything feels too hard, when you don't want to move and you know that you should exercise, that it'll make you feel better, and then that makes you feel worse because you don't want to exercise. So I designed this flow to trick myself into moving and to getting a little bit of exercise, and I've been doing it every day the past week, and I notice when I'm done with it I usually want to exercise or do more, move more. So I thought maybe some of you are in the same boat. Maybe some of you can't relate to that. A lot of people handle stress and they become kind of like hyperactive when they get stressed out. So maybe instead of using this flow to give you a bit more energy, maybe this flow will actually help you calm down. It's up to you. We'll get started. We'll start, as always, with our mats horizontal to to our devices, and you can mirror my movements. We will start in child's pose. So facing the right. Facing the right in child's pose. You can take a wide kneed or a narrow kneed child's pose. Catch your breath for a moment here. Maybe wiggle around, whatever feels good. And we'll slowly make our way into a forearm cat pose. Draw the belly button into the ribs. Push the hips back into child's pose. We'll start to sweep our forearms forward, arch our spines, lift our tailbones up to the ceiling and come into puppy pose. So in puppy pose, you can have your forehead down. You can bring your chin forward until you bring your chest all the way down to the mat, maybe. Do what feels right for you. This is not a flow where you're meant to strain yourself. Do whatever feels comfy. And we'll rock back, bringing our hips down, back to our heels. Coming back into child's pose. Shift your forearms forward until your heart comes very close to the mat. Come back into puppy pose. Bring the hips back to the heels, child's pose. One more time, rock forward into puppy pose. Start to round the spine, point the tailbone down, and come up into a forearm cat pose. Breathe here. Start to engage the core here. And slide your knees down your mat and let your hips come down to the mat into a sphinx. Draw your shoulder blades together here. We'll start to warm up the shoulder blades by pushing the shoulder blades away from each other and then drawing the shoulder blades together. Pushing the shoulder blades away and drawing the shoulder blades together. And if you want, you can start to engage the core when you push your shoulder blades away from each other and start to lift your hips up off the mat. Let the hips come down, draw the shoulder blades together. Push them away, maybe the hips come up. A few more times just like this. And then we will come onto our right forearm. Come onto your right hip. Let your left knee be a kickstand for you. You can put your left hand in front of your body. We'll start to find just a little bit of a side body stretch right here. Start to push your ear away from your shoulder right here and let your ear sink down. Push your ear away from your shoulder. Let your ear sink down. So just warming up the shoulder and stretching out the side body. A few more times. Roll over onto your belly into Sphinx. Other side. Push into your left forearm. Come on to your left hip. You're going to be rolled away from the camera. And let your right knee be a kickstand for you. Start to push your left ear away from your left shoulder. Let it drop down. Bring it up. Let it come down. Bring it up. Let it come down. And we'll come back onto our stomachs into Sphinx. Round the spine, push up into a Forearm Cat. Push the hips back to the heels. Child's pose for just a moment. Glide the forearms forward, come into a puppy. We'll come onto our right shoulder by lifting our left shoulder up to the ceiling. So just come into a tiny little bit of a twist here. So you can take your left hand and place it down onto the mat here. So this is kind of a mix of a side body stretch and a twist. You can also reach your left hand to meet your right. Keep rotating that left shoulder up to the ceiling. Keep breathing. And maybe you draw your left hip to your right shoulder here to get more of a side body stretch. You can also play around by pulling your hips back and reaching your arms forward. And you might notice that this gives you a bit of a shoulder stretch, a bit of a side rib cage stretch. Other side, come down into puppy. Push into that left arm. Let your head rest on your left arm. Maybe you take your right hand and plant it on the mat, or maybe you reach your right hand to meet your left hand. Right shoulder is lifting every breath. Maybe you draw your right hip to your right shoulder to find more of a side body stretch. Come down into puppy, round into a forearm cat. Engage your core and push your knees down your mat. Glide your knees down the mat. We'll all meet in Sphinx. Start to flip or kick your feet here. Drawing the shoulder blades together. We'll keep that right foot lifted. Extend both of your hands long in front of you. Take your left hand to grab your right foot and roll over onto your right side. Maybe you guide that left shoulder all the way down to the floor. So here you can kind of play around with how much of a twist, a spinal twist feels good here. So you can have your hip closer down to the mat and you can roll your shoulder away. Or you can roll your shoulder all the way back and your hip will probably be stacked on top of the other in this one. So just play around with what feels right for you. We'll all come back down onto our stomachs. Kick your left foot up, grab it with your right hand. Play around with this side. So you can hold on each side or you can roll from side to side, grabbing the opposite foot. So left hand grabs the right foot when you roll to the right. Right hand grabs the left foot when you roll to the left. So as I said, you can either go back and forth here, or you can stay on one side. Let's all meet in Sphinx pose. Flip or kick your feet for a second. Draw your shoulder blades together. Keep both of your knees bent. We'll start to draw our shoulder blades away from each other. Engage the core and lift the hips up. Let the hips come down. Draw the shoulder blades together here. Push them away. Lift the hips, engage the core. So I put this in here because I think it helps us feel a little bit better when we start activating the core, activating that powerhouse. I think it helps give us a little energy. But if you're not feeling this, you don't have to do it. Maybe you're just gonna do the shoulder blades here, okay? Depends on how much energy. We're just trying to get ourselves to move in ways that don't feel like too much efforting. We'll come down completely into Sphinx pose. We'll all meet on our backs. I'll show you how I'm gonna get onto my back, and if it's too confusing, just know we're all gonna meet on our backs. So take your right hand and thread it underneath your left hand here, so that your right hand is reaching for your device. Bend your left knee and roll over onto your back. So we're coming into another kind of spinal twist, but we're not going to stay here. Just shift your hips back onto the mat and start to lift the hips up into bridge. Start to let the hips come back down. So when we're in bridge, our thighs are going to be parallel here. Maybe we start engaging the glutes, squeeze the glutes at the top. Maybe lift your hips high enough that you can start drawing your shoulder blades together a little bit. Maybe when your hips come up, you start pushing the back of your head into the mat, getting a bit of a neck stretch. Next time the hips come up, hold them high, and if you would like, start to walk your shoulder blades together and interlace your hands behind your back. You can also just walk your shoulder blades together and keep your hands on the mat. Breathe here. Push that neck into the mat. Squeeze the glutes. We'll start to let go of the shoulder blades and come down vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae. Hug the knees into the chest and let the hips come off of the mat. Let the hips come down. Hug the knees into the chest, let the hips come up, let them come down. You can either keep hugging your knees into your chest with your hands, guiding them, or you can put your hands down and use your core to bring your knees into your chest and lift your hips up off the mat. A few more times here. So this actually does work your core a little bit here. So maybe we start to lift our hips a little bit higher each time. Maybe we lift our hips high enough so that we can put our hands behind our hips. And I'm going to give you 3 options here. You can either hang out, and this is one of my favorites. I put my thumbs in my hip creases, so in between my hip and my thigh. I put my thumb there. I do it on both sides. And then I just hold my hips and with my thumbs and let all the weight pretty much go into my elbows here. So this kind of starts to separate, create a little bit of space between your femurs and your hips, and it can feel really nice. You can play around with where the best hip crease spot is for your hands. So that's option 1. I was gonna stay here. I liked it too much. Option 2 is to take, what is this called? Plow. Take plow. Option 3 is to take candlestick. Squeezing the glutes together, pointing the toes. Some people just like to pedal their legs around in candlestick. I like to do that, just play around. Sometimes I'll hold the tops of my hips here. Ooh, push my hips away from my spine. Yeah. So we'll all meet with our hands on our hip creases. And slowly guide our hips to come down, down, down to the mat. Extend your legs nice and long and hug. Take your hands to hug your legs into your chest. Lift your hips. Guide your hands up your legs. Let your hips come down to the mat. Bend your knees. Open your knees. And you can reach your hands for your thighs, ankles, or the outsides of your feet. So we're in a supine butterfly. Draw the knees together. Extend the legs. Lift the hips. Forward fold. Drop the hips. Open the knees. Supine butterfly. Draw the knees together, extend the legs, lift the hips, forward fold. Drop the hips, open the knees, butterfly. We'll rock back and forth between this a few more times. We'll all meet in that supine butterfly. Maybe you wiggle around for just a minute. And whenever you're ready, draw your knees together. Bring your hands to either side of you. Lift your hips and reach your hands together. Drop your hips, open your hands, sweep them overhead. Extend your legs up to your hands. Let your hands meet your toes here. Let your hands come down, sweep them around. Bring your knees into your chest, reach your hands up. Extend the legs, toes to hands. Just a few more times here. We'll all meet with our knees hugged into our chest. Start to rock a little bit side to side until you rock all the way onto your right side. Open up your left arm so that your shoulder comes down to the mat, and we'll open up into a supine twist. Gazes to the left, knees are to the device. Stay here. Catch your breath. I'm going to make sure my computer's still on. Supine twist. We're still in supine twist. And we'll start to extend our top leg so that our heel stays on the outside or towards the outside of our mat. And we'll let our left hip come completely down so that both of our hips are on the mat here. Extend your left arm out to the right, and you can help guide it with your right hand. Banana pose. Option to stay here with your right hip open, or option to extend the right leg and place the right ankle underneath the left ankle. Catch your breath. Option to breathe into the belly here, option to breathe into the rib cage, or option to breathe into both. When you're breathing into the belly, maybe you push that breath into the left side so that you stretch out your left obliques a little bit more. Maybe if you're breathing into the rib cage, you think about expanding the left side of your rib cage a little bit more. If you're breathing into the both, breathe into the belly, breathe into the ribs, exhale from the ribs, exhale from the belly. Breathe into the belly, breathe into the ribs, exhale from the ribs, exhale from the belly. So get nice and cozy here. I like to kick my right knee out And if your hair isn't out, make sure that your hair is not in a ponytail right now. Let your hair out. And take your hands and find the spot between your shoulders and your neck. And take your hands and start to squeeze the spot between your shoulders and your neck. So we're just gonna give ourselves a little shoulder neck massage right here. Start to squeeze from your spine to the outside of your neck and walk your hands up your neck as you do that. Take your thumbs to the very center of the base of your skull and push up into the base of your skull and start walking your thumbs from the center all the way out along the base of your skull to your ears. Walk them back. Next time your thumbs come all the way out to your ears, take your pinkies, face them to the top of your head, push your pinkies into your ears, and guide them along the bottom of your ear to the tops of your ear while pushing all your fingers into your head. Guide your hands all the way to the top of your skull. Squeeze your fingers into your hands. Maybe give your hair a little tug. One more time. Reach your pinkies to the bottom of your ears. Push all your fingers into the bottom of your head, all the way to the top. Maybe give your hair a little tug at the top. Well, I'll roll over onto our right side, hug our knees into our chest, and roll all the way over on to the left side. Open that right hand up into a spinal twist. Gaze is to your device. Knees are pointing to your left. Breathe. Start to extend your top leg nice and long, keeping it towards the outside of your mat. Let your right hip come all the way down so that both of your hips are on the mat here. Reach your right hand to the left side. Maybe you give it a tug with your left hand. Maybe you extend your left leg so that your left ankle is underneath your right ankle, banana pose on the opposite side. Or you can keep your hip open. If you're breathing into your belly and your chest, breathe into your stomach. Expand that right side body. Breathe into your chest. Expand the right rib cage. Exhale ribs. Exhale belly. So we did a head massage on the right side, so we have to balance it out by also doing it on the left side. And so I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of you guys have been staring at your computers for a long time. And for me, when I do that, I get a lot of tension in between my eyebrows and my forehead. So we're gonna take our fingers and push them into the center of our eyebrows and guide them all the way to the outside of our eyebrows until our knuckles come to our temples. Push your knuckles into your temples. Place your pointer finger on the top of your ear. Push all your fingers into your head until they reach the top of your head. We'll do that a few more times. Center of the eyebrows all the way out. So the temples, push into the temples. Bend your fingers. Push your pointer finger above your ear. All your fingers push into your head. Okay, now we're going to work on the T-zone. So that's the spot right underneath your eyes. So take your fingers, take your knuckles to the sides of your nose, push on the sides of your nose all the way along the underneath of your eyes. Push your knuckles into your temples. Push your fingers into the top of your head. Okay, now I'll do the bottom of our face. Take your knuckles, push them to the bottom of the corners of your mouth, and then guide them all the way along your jawline, all the way to the bottom of your ears. Push into your temples, push your fingers into your head. Roll over onto the left side here. Hug your knees into your chest. We'll all roll onto our belly. Hug your knees into your chest. Wiggle around. Lift your hips up. Pull your knees into your chest. Lift your hips a few times. We'll start to get a little bit more momentum here. Start to rock back and forth until you come all the way up to seated position. Take your hands, put them down, put your knees down, kick your feet behind you, push your hips up into a forward fold, deep bend in the forward fold. Your whole stomach is touching your thighs here, deep bend. Nod the head yes, shake the head no. We'll grab our elbows with our hands here, let the head hang heavy. Place your hands down. This time we will extend our legs all the way around the spine, and maybe your hands lift up off the mat, maybe they touch the mat. Bend the knees, let your stomach come all the way down. Extend around the spine. A few more times just like this. Whenever you're ready, step that right leg back into a lunge. Start rocking back and forth on the ball of your foot here. Maybe you feel a bit of a calf stretch. Step the left foot back and step the right foot forward. Come back and forth on the ball of the left foot here. Step both feet back here. Knees come down. Push the hips all the way up. Come down into puppy pose. Start to drop the hips down to the heels here. Rolling up vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae. Head comes up last. Start to take some circles with your head. Any direction. When your head comes back, instead of letting your head fall back, see if you can lift your chin up to the ceiling so that you're engaging your muscles instead of just letting the head drop. Keep doing that. Other side. Find some stillness here. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades together in back of you. Exhale, close the hands in front of you, round the spine. Inhale, circle sweep your hands all the way up to the ceiling. Hands meet at the top. Exhale, both hands come down through heart center. Inhale, draw those shoulder blades together. Exhale, close your hands in front of you, round the spine. Inhale, circle sweep your hands all the way up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down. One more time. Inhale, draw those shoulder blades together behind you. Exhale, close your arms in front of you. Inhale, circle sweep your hands all the way up to the top. Hold your breath at the top. Hold your hands at the top for just a moment here. Reach a little bit higher. Exhale, let your hands come down to heart center. So I hope if you didn't have energy that you have a bit more energy, and if you're feeling it, I recommend keep moving. Do whatever feels good in your body. If you have that little burst of energy, keep working it, keep playing around on your mat, see what feels right in your body. And if you're really feeling it, take advantage of that energy and get some cardio, go for a run, lift your spirits up. And if you're interested, I designed this sequence along with the other film that I made where I was talking about the sequence the whole time and didn't do it, and just talked about different things that you can do if you're feeling, different things that I do when I'm feeling down, and if any of them resonate with you, yeah, feel free to use them, and if they make you feel better, that's awesome. If this flow gave you a little bit more energy, let me know. And if you used it to calm down as well, because you could have used it that way as well, let me know. Hope you guys had a good time, and we'll see you soon.